Greetings, precious, divine, beautiful, flawless, spirit soul that you are as your authentic self. Not your false ego, false identity, all the stuff you've made up, all your stories, blah, 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 blah. You are perfect, whole, and complete. Always have been, always will be. And my topic, how to get rid of jealousy. Now, jealousy and envy are different and yet also the same or similar. That's why distinctions are important, because it's just like shadings, but the same and yet have different qualities. Jealousy, what a horrible, painful experience. I used to have a lot of jealousy. And it was usually about relationships, that my mate was going to leave me for somebody else or enjoy with somebody else other than me. Or jealous because someone had something, a thing, a material thing, a position in life, something like that I was actually envious of, that I wanted for myself. And then if someone else had that, then I would feel jealousy. And it was actually the feeling of jealousy when you meditate on that and look to see, what is it? And that's, people say, well, how do you get rid of things? You can't get rid of something as long as you are attached to it. As long as you believe in your heart that somehow there's value there for you. And that's how we get basically tricked into everything. Now, if I go like this, it's because there are vampires here, and they have another name called mosquitoes, and they would like to suck my blood, and perhaps they give inoculations of some kind. But I'm not an insect person anymore. Now I know what they're up to. And I say, oh, well, we all need insects. Yeah, right, sure, go ahead. But anyway, so jealousy terrorizes the jealous person. And the jealous mind, the jealous heart person becomes a nasty person, because they will do nasty things to whomever they believe is their competition. The one who could take away what they have, or the one that would have maybe more respect or more admiration or something like that. And when someone works on themselves on the spiritual path, that's one of the first things that a person wants to eliminate is envy of others. And I also teach people, like, instead of, when you see someone or hear of someone who is doing or having something you would like, that you have an attraction for, instead of hating that person and believing that they have it and you can't have it, and so therefore they're the one preventing you from having the quality of your own experience that you desire, then you make them your enemy. And what it is, and then what you're really doing is torturing yourself with those horrible, horrible feelings of jealousy. And how you let go of something, first of all, is to notice what it's doing to you that isn't pleasurable, it isn't empowering, it's not nurturing. Some people, they can't sleep at night, and then they torment the other people in their lives with their jealousy and with their competition, and then they spread nasty stories about others that aren't true, that aren't based on actual, it has only to do with that person's opinion, because that person is envious and jealous, and so they have ways to then knock off the competition. Envy is the symptom, so is jealousy. They're symptoms of the infection to the level of a high infection of the mind virus. I call it the mind virus because what the mind virus does is it causes people to fight against themselves. It causes a person to be their own police, their own judge, their own jury, their own jailer, their own punisher, torturer, and executioner, so that no one really has to do anything else because the person does it all to themselves. To me, that's the Battle of Armageddon. It is not an outer battle, and it will be an outer battle when the person, enough persons believe that story, which goes, and here's another thing, is that sense of when a person says they have a premonition of something, I realize what that probably is, because no one knows the future at all, except when that future is being manifested from the past. And so therefore, what we tend to do is go into these cycles and recycles. And you might say, like in the Vedas, they would call it go through the yugas. And so you have the Satya, the Dwarpa, the Treta, or the Treta, the Dwarpa, and the Kali. And then it shifts at the bottom of, and that would be as you watch nature and you watch, look at these beautiful little plants here. They're so lovely, the colors. And yet they fade and go, but they go back into the roots. And then next season, next year, they come back out again. You see, they do this and they do this. So how you get rid of jealousy is, first of all, you get tired of feeling bad. And you get tired of what you're doing. You're torturing yourself because it comes from you're not good enough. And it also comes from that other people are the source of your happiness. The key, when you become self-satisfied, you are the pleasure of the divine, and we are pleasure seekers. But what happens is, as a pleasure seeker in the virtual reality overlay veils, the pleasure comes from the senses, the tongue, which is the hardest to control, with what you say and what you eat and what you drink. So you get people who are so addicted to the taste that they can never get enough satisfaction from the food. Plus, if they're eating the kind of food that has no nutrition, they never get satisfied. But they get the taste, and so these are the taste of chemicals. And as I told you, I knew a woman whose husband worked for food companies, and he was a chemist, to design tastes that would become addictive, so that the person would crave that taste, just like you see things in packages, people who eat out of packages all the time. And you find that with all the plastic, we have so much plastic also in the bodies. Isn't it amazing that we're so powerful that we could transcend probably most all that stuff? I know. So when the jealousy then is that my happiness, my security, my money, my fame, my value comes from the acknowledgement of others and comes from others, but it does not come from me, because that is then the belief that you do not have enough and you're not enough and you're not good enough. So this addiction then to pleasure is that we'll get into the senses, pleasure of what you hear, but yet so much of then what people are hearing is not pleasurable at all, because it's at a tone that is not natural and does not stimulate the basic glands that are in the body, because your body, remember, is a manifesting machine. And it operates on sound. And sound in our bodies comes from this region of the body, the head and the throat, but from the breath. It's all about breath. And when you're self-satisfied, that's when you start to realize that it's very painful to be envious and jealous. And what I say to people when they're envious, when you see someone doing or being what you like, say that's for me. Don't say I hate them. Why do they have that? It's not fair. My brother has it all. My sister got it. My parents did it. This is the blah 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 story. I remember back in 6th grade, there was this cute little girl in 6th grade, and she was kind of a teacher's pet, and I was so jealous of her. I just hated her because she was taking my attention. And it's like we do with sisters and brothers and all of this. They're taking my attention. And then you get people who are so addicted because the mind virus is in such a state that they can't stand the competition or the beauty or the genius or the creativity or the happiness or the joy of others. And that I would say would be like a mosquito. It's a parasite, and and then flies. They lay those eggs on the food you're eating. They go in and put maggots inside your body because that they're nasty. And that the jealousy and the envy comes from the belief that you're not enough and you are lacking. And therefore, other people are the ones who are giving you what you need and what you want. And then they could take it away. And if they take it away, then I don't have it anymore. So this is giving our divine powers to other people to control, that whatever they do is going to affect me in a very bad way. And so therefore, I have to protect what is mine and what belongs to me, so that nobody else can get it, especially if I own people, or I think I should own people, or, these are my slaves and they have to do what I want them to do. And then when the envy and the jealousy come, and then the competition, and then how we put down other people and how we could put ideas and thoughts in other people's minds about how awful these people are. And a lot of times it's true. I'm not saying you shouldn't communicate stuff that you've got backed up with the information and knowledge that they really are doing evil things to other people and to animals. And that doesn't mean what you then go out to tell people about that it means you're envious of that. That's not what I'm saying at all. Not at all. And what happens is envious people always believe other people are envious as well. And envious people live on stories. This story, that belief, and they make up stories. And something happens and they make up these stories. And usually they're making up the stories to feel bad, and in order to feel good, they have to make somebody else bad so that the person then could take back the power they just gave away to somebody else through envy and jealousy. So that's one of the things that's one of the most important to get rid of. And to actually realize, and ultimately down the line, if you're around people that really don't want to be with you, why do you want to hold on to them? Why wouldn't you want them to go and be where they wanted to be so that you could also do what you wanted to do? But what happens is the jailer is in jail as much as a prisoner. And when you have entities or whatever individuals who are so focused on the virtual reality overlay, what we're perceiving through the, the intoxication of the mind virus that distorts our reality and makes us appear as meat sticks who are born and die, when this is not us at all. And then to live on that, and then to live your life hating people, being envious of people, putting down other people, and at the same time putting yourself down because you're not good enough, and you have to be jealous of the other people who have the talent, who have the ability, or they're prettier than I am, or they're younger than this person is, and they're more qualified, and they're this and they're that. And then you get everybody trying to be the best. so that they can get the acknowledgement and they can get the recognition from their family, from their friends, from the world, and then they can be on the top of the magazine as the greatest and the most without, but realizing those are paid for. There's no such, they're paid for, even when the people do the lottery and things like that. Because they're living in, I hope this will happen to me sometime. You've already won. And when you realize that and take your power back, why should you disturb yourself with envy and jealousy? And look what it does in the situations, and backbiting and talking behind people's backs and trying to convince other people of it so that the other people think you're fabulous and they're not. And one time I was at dinner at this restaurant, and I would notice there was a table, there were men and women, man, woman sitting there. And then when a beautiful woman would walk in, I would notice how the women at the table, because I kind of, when you listen to people in restaurants and stuff, you kind of get a kick, not a kick, but you get a realization if it's all the same, blah, 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 based on fear, guilt, jealousy, all these kind of things, competition, how they'd have to find something wrong in that person to make sure the men, the husbands, the boyfriends weren't lusting after that one when we want them to lust after me. And what is lust anyway? I want what you've got. That's what envy is. I want what you're gone and I want you dead. That's the ultimate of jealousy and envy. And then to live that way, to be that way, is you're never good enough, always nervous, always feel insecure, always trying to prove that you're good enough. And it's not necessary. Because it's all, the outer is always a reflection of the inner. And when you have a jealousy that your mate is going to leave you with someone and take on with someone else, or they may or they may not, but when you live with that, and everybody, they're going to turn away from you, they're going to go to somebody else, or they're going to do this, and that's what you focus on, then it eats you alive. And everything is about that. So what do? You do your work. You do your work. You work with your teachers. You read, you study, you do your meditation, and you actually apply what you're learning and working, because the jealousy and the envy are indications of your own infection by the mind virus that makes you ignore and not believe and not know and to argue for your limitations until kingdom come. What do they say? Kingdom? This is the dome. Okay. So clear the dome of all of that old stuff. And when you let go and you let God, in a sense, of the divine, you don't have to ride shotgun on people. You don't have to check their telephone and their messages and their text. Who are they looking at? Hey, you got a life, baby. And when you are true to yourself and you are on doing what you do and are who you are not there to control and dominate anybody, to keep them in line, to make sure that it's going to be the way you want, no matter what, and you hang on to it, just clawing your way. There's another way. And it's not about the force. Don't let the force be with you. Divine magic doesn't take force. People who live in ignorance are always living in force. And in force means to force you within to align and live a life of struggle, pain, disease, and death, when you are eternal life itself. So I want you to accept it, be it, and know it. And hey, if you need a little support, I do the on-phone counseling, love offering. I'm here for you. And also I do the mentoring and the career mentoring and my retreats and workshops up at Shasta, Mount Shasta, California. So I'm available and I am there for you. All you have to do is reach out. And that is the beginning of the pleasure of your soul forever. Hugs.